The pink pill is the pink pill now. Put your pinkies up now, up now, up. Live well to the extreme now. Put your pinkies up now, up now, up.
Hey, it's Pinky. You're on the Pink Pill YouTube channel. Be a love and like, share, and subscribe. Pinkies up.
Hello, Pinkies. Welcome to this very special interview. Somebody who I stumbled upon because of some viral content that recently inspired a wide conversation. I have with me Kassie West, and her channel is KASSIEWEST. I stumbled upon Kassie West because of her commentary on this viral content and how it was received by Black YouTube, how it was received by particularly Black women, and Kassie, I want to talk to you about what were you surprised at the results of your initial video?
Yeah, I mean, originally I was just thinking that I was responding to another one of these manosphere guys that I've kind of been aware of over the past decade or so. And there's Tom Likas, there's a whole slew of them on YouTube, and they all basically say the same things. And every so often there will be, a new narrative that's really being pushed. And whenever I feel like it's something that I'm hearing over and over again, that's when I don't like false narratives being pushed. It really bothers me. And so that was basically my gist. But I mean, I obviously knew that the host was Black, but I didn't think he was a part of like Black YouTube. I just thought I was doing another one of my, MGTOW red pill manosphere videos.
Right. So what was the theme that you recognized out of this narration that you felt like you wanted to address?
Well, I mean, the primary thing is just I felt like it was so weird that she was asking for the bare minimum. Like, I mean, other things can be preferences, oh, I want someone, this height, or they have to, have this kind of body shape, or they have to, I don't know, whatever it is. Like other things can be preferences, but simple things like I need someone who I feel like can be an equal and not use me, and I feel like I'm on a level playing field with, like, so I just felt like, you have someone asking for the bare minimum, and I don't get how that would matter if the person was a supermodel or, as ugly as can be. Like that wouldn't change the fact that relationships have to be built on a certain level of like trust and respect.
It's interesting because when you made your commentary, you said, me and my friends, this bar, this invisible bar of 6 figures, $100,000, like that is like the minimum, like of what we were looking for. Can you please explain why that was the case?
Right. So I think just because like that's kind of the figure that they used in their example, a bunch of people got stuck on that. It's not exactly a dollar amount, in that, like, let's say that you meet someone when you're 22 and in college, and they're a law student or a med student or something like that. They're obviously not going to have money,
right?
But they're still going to be a productive person that clearly has like a decent work ethic and is clearly going to keep on that path.
Mhm.
And in this instance, we were talking about someone who would be looking at men from the ages of 35 to 45. This is, the peak of the vast majority of men's careers.
Mhm.
And especially if you are someone who you yourself is able to have, a six-figure income, the very least that you could get from a man is for him to also at least be making that.
And so, what do you think of this idea that if a woman, regardless of color, but or nationality or whatever, um, her expectation as a person who um, is making that level of money in her own enterprises, um, what what is the expectation of your friends? So if you have friends who are, say, I don't know, dog groomers,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making six figures, um, what are the messages that your friends, and what are the expectations of your friends, in regards to finding men who seek at least the same, relatively same level of of salary or income and values and hobbies and that thing. So what would your friends or you have said, being in that position, and what would you have expected?
Like if I made that amount of money and was looking for somebody.
Mm-hmm. Would you have
Oh,
expected to find?
yeah.
Would you have? Would you have been open to someone telling you that based on your looks that you did not qualify for that type of man? What would you have thought?
I I can't see how that has to do with anything. That's so just dehumanizing to me. Like that doesn't, like, we're not these little calculations. And
Mhm.
who even said that you were looking for, a male model or something? You're
Mhm.
like, you're just looking for someone that you are compatible with. Like, that shouldn't be something that you have to pass some like physical bar in order to achieve.
Um, so what did you think about the advice that this particular woman was given? I mean, what we know, but I mean, what do you think about the mentality of men who think that way?
I mean, I just think it goes completely against nature. Like, I don't think that there's any way that that can possibly create a healthy dynamic.
Mhm.
And the thing is that it's just kind of taught and known among, me and my friends and most of the people that I grew up with, that a guy doesn't like you more if you're providing for him. It makes him kind of hate you and resent you.
Right.
And they've actually done uh, psychological studies that have shown that actually giving someone something and being a giver makes the giver more likely to form a bond and an attraction and, a sense of love toward the person they're giving to. And the same thing isn't quite as strong in the person that's receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up in these really unhealthy dynamics where you have these men that are offering nothing to a relationship, and women are just begging him to stay around.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's some psychological elements to that, and it's also just the fact that you've invested so much into the relationship, And it's kind of, the sunk cost fallacy where it makes you more likely to keep someone unhealthy for you around, um, if you've ended up having to invest in them that way. And it goes against kind of just the very nature of who and what a man is. They're a protector and a provider.
Right.
And we're the nurturers. And so it's like anything that could change up that dynamic, like a woman earning a lot more than a man, I think that it can be close to 50-50 and still be a pretty healthy dynamic, especially if they're both kind of more traditional people. But when it's way different, like a guy who, barely has a part-time job and is doing nothing with his life, and then you have someone who is incredibly competent and responsible and successful, like there's nothing to do there.
Right. That's interesting. There's nothing to do there. And you also said that it was unsafe. And I like that you put it in those terms. You said that women who are expected, who are at a certain level of socioeconomics, it is unsafe for them to be or be looking to men who are significantly at less socioeconomic stature. And the other narrative that was interesting and the conversation that we had over the phone and me getting to know you and also getting an opportunity to see your husband and him kind of just kind of being that masculine force and setting these men straight. A lot of people don't necessarily know. There's a lot of this discussion about, single mothers and blah, 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 and all, you can't get a quality man and da, 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 da. And your situation, I think, is going to be sort of intriguing for my audience because you did, prior to meeting your husband, you had a brief marriage that resulted in an annulment, but also a child, because you are probably as fertile as I am.
Oh yeah, I am like this. It's like bam.
Yes, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that just kind of goes, that really ties into the whole concept of not settling, because people think that is dumb and unrealistic, and it's going to have you, ending up alone and all this other stuff. But something so sad is that my husband originally saw a video that I had made about the military. I think it was like back in 2010 or 2011, something like that. And I was talking about the military, and the things that I was saying were exactly the reasons why he was leaving. He had been an airborne ranger and decided to leave the military for a lot of the reasons that I was discussing. And he saw me, he was like, "Oh, she's beautiful. She has my same beliefs. She totally gets like exactly what I'm thinking right now. She's Christian. Like, this is my dream girl." And he was like, "If I send her a message and she reads it, I will marry her."
Wow.
So that's what my husband thought the first time he ever saw me.
Wow.
And he did. This was like way back when YouTube, you could like send messages on it. So I never got the message, but then he went to go also, add me on Facebook. And then when he went to go add me, I was already engaged to the guy that I ended up having the short marriage and annulment with. And so because of that, he was like, "Okay, whatever, I'll just add her as a friend." And hold on. And he was like, "Okay, whatever, I'll just add her as a friend. she'll probably post cool stuff that I'll like and whatever. And then he never thought about it again, right?
Mhm.
And the funny thing is that if I had seen his message, I would have been so just amazed because I never even thought that a guy so perfect for me did exist, that I wasn't even like, I didn't even know what I didn't know. So
Mhm.
it's like there were things that didn't seem right, and there were, I was starting to get feelings like, I'm 25. I started, my biological clock started ticking. I started like really thinking about marriage, and also I felt really deceived. I felt like, especially with these a lot of the boomer generation and even like older Gen X that raised a lot of the millennials, I feel like we were taught a lot about, what college are you going to go to? What kind of job are you going to have? Everything like that. And, it's kind of like they failed to mention that more than likely about 80% of us are going to want to have
Right.
a husband and kids one day. Like,
And they just
we're
like
gonna
left
actually
that out of the
have
lessons. So you were saying that Gen Xers really didn't prepare the
well,
millennials and the Gen Zs on relationships and marriage.
just like the older Gen
Mhm.
Xers and boomers.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like that was kind of the first generation where they were teaching their kids with more of an emphasis on, especially the women, more so than in previous generations, like, oh, where are you going to school? What kind of career are you going to have? Like,
Mhm.
what are you going to do? And there was never any, I don't remember a single conversation of, oh, so, would you like to get married one day? Would you like to have children?
Mhm.
Oh, so if you are you planning on being a stay-at-home mom, or do you want to be a working mom? If so, then should you even go to college, or should you get this other kind of thing that can kind of parlay into being a stay-at-home mom better? There was never any kind of just holistic approach to a
Yes.
work-life balance that included motherhood.
Yes.
And so I had like, my career was a lot easier than I thought it would be, and I was like, "Oh, um, I kind of thought I would be doing I kind of thought it would take me about 10 years to be doing, the cool stuff that I was doing." But really, within the first 3 or 4 years, I had already done kind of all the things that I had imagined or been excited about, or hoped to have done in my career, and I was like, I really want, um I want marriage, I want kids, I don't, but I haven't had any training, like, I didn't know
Mhm.
how to date, I didn't know what qualities to look for. I knew maybe things on paper, but I didn't know how that actually translated into real life,
Mhm.
and, things like that. So I felt like a lot of pressure to just kind of catch up, I guess, and also I noticed that a lot of my friends who had kind of, uh lives that I thought seemed kind of boring, just a few years earlier. I was like, I'm living in an apartment. Granted, it's a nice high-rise apartment, but I'm living in an apartment. They like have like a giant house and don't have to work, and I have to wake up at like 7 and I don't get home till 7. I was like, this sucks.
Yes, it
I
does.
don't like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So so I, that's when I kind of wanted to that's when I kind of realized that I wanted marriage and children, and I had not been prepared for that at all in my life. And so right, so where I left off was my husband had messaged me, but then when he went to go add me on Facebook, he saw that I was engaged to this other guy.
Mhm.
And so, you know, it kind of just ended there. I never thought about it again. And obviously that fell apart. So this is like, well over a year later. And now I am single again with a baby. And this is when I was like, okay, I have got to figure out what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've got to figure out, I still want to have a family. I still want
Mm-hmm.
to have lots of children. I always wanted a big family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I was like, I'm looking for something and this is something that really got to me and kind of what inspired me to make the video that I did that you found me from. And that's because I was looking for something so specific.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most guys, if you're like, I want to have at least 6 children, are going to run away like their hair's on fire. It's not like that's like something that the average person wants. So it's like when you're looking for specific things like, oh, I really want a vegan, or, oh, I really want someone that's a Christian, or I really want someone that shares my political views, or, I really want someone that's into rock climbing with me, like something specific like that. I guess I just feel like the qualities that I was looking for in a husband were very, very specific, way more specific than, oh, he needs to make, $100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still able to find several men that could, because I don't believe in soulmates or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that every person has hundreds of people in the world that they could have a wonderful, very happy life with. So, so I was looking for something very specific that is, a 1 in a million kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And again, way more specific than just $100,000 a year and, won't use me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to find that as, someone with a child. And I was 29 at the time. I mean, that's not that different than 35.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, I was still able to find it. I was still able to find lots of guys with those qualities.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of guys that were completely open to dating single mothers. Lots of guys who, and the thing is that really trips people up is they'll see things on paper and be like, well, obviously no one's ideal preference is, like no one when they're like a little kid is like, I'm going to marry a woman who already has a child, or she's like widowed and I carry on her and her children, or whatever. Like we all kind of have a vision of we marry and then we have a child and we build an original family. Like that's kind of the fantasy. However, that doesn't mean that if someone were to find the right person, and if you guys had a good connection and shared values and had the same goals in life, that like, I mean, at that point, something like that just seems so superficial.
Right.
Like,
And so just that hard line. Right. So you had this, you have someone who is saying there's this hard line. Nobody wants a single mother. You're used goods. You're 29 years old. You've got a baby. And so you've hit the wall and you have a kid. And
yeah,
lo and behold, miracle of all miracles. The miracle of all miracles. You find this very manly, very handsome man who shares your values. Tell me how you met him. So I have to just tell you this. So I know Matthew Hussey. Like I was one of the first people who introduced him when he came to the UK. So I was smiling to myself when you mentioned that you took one of his courses and you said you weren't totally sure if it worked, but it definitely didn't hurt. And so you found this amazing guy. So tell me about your husband. But before you do that, did you feel like you were operating at a deficit because you came with what some men would have called baggage?
Yes. Yes, I was like, I am the oldest I've ever been. I have the most baggage I've ever had, not just a child, but also like, I'm traumatized at this point. And I mean, I guess that's basically it. But so I was like, okay, I obviously logically know that this isn't that these things would count me out, right? That these things would work against me. And so what really appealed to me about Matthew Hussey was he was like, was life, obviously I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, life is life. Like, of course, you can do all the woulda, shoulda, couldas, like, oh, I should have started dating sooner, or if only my parents had taught me this or that, or, oh, if only I hadn't stayed with that guy too long and left at the first red flag or whatever. But there are things that you can do that are so attractive and that set you apart so much that you can have over a woman that is 10 years younger than you. You can have an advantage over a woman who is childless and you have kids, and you can have an advantage over a woman who's more physically beautiful than you. Because at the end of the day, a man has to spend time with you. At the end of the day, like, you guys have to spend like hours and hours every day together. And it's not really going to matter like how flashy something seems or how perfect something looks on paper. You want to be with the person that you actually enjoy being with.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's like, what matters is who can help me move forward in life, who can help me, go forward with the goals that I want to achieve and the life that I want to live, and who can share like my values and beliefs and that I can really connect with. And that's so much more important than, well, this girl's a 10 and this girl's an 8. Like, it's like it seems
it's very
it just seems like a child. It's like, but it's not even like a child. I don't know. It's like a bad child.
Yeah, a very petulant child.
Yeah, like it's just so, it's like sad. It seems so shallow.
Well, I mean, it's soulless. It's taking away the character and the spirit of the person and reducing them to ranks and categories, and the fact that men are characterizing, certain type of men are characterizing women in this way. The thing that disturbs me is that there's so many women who are listening to this, and that's why I wanted to have you on, because you came into a situation with your husband. You are now a stay-at-home mother.
Yes.
And
And that was my dream. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to be able to stay home, homeschool my children, and have like, at least 6 kids. I wanted a big family, and we're at 3 right now. So
yeah, so you got 3 more to go.
yeah.
And you came with, like, I came into a marriage with a child, and your husband said, I love you, and that's going to be my child too. And you listen to some people online, and that's just impossible. So Kassie, you achieved the seemingly impossible. How did you do it? How did you do it? We all want to know how you did it.
It's so funny because I'll tell you some of the actual things that I did that really did transform a lot of my dating life for me. And it's so funny because if all it is just being as young and as hot and as baggage free as possible, then why was it as I got older and had more baggage, I was dating the best guys I'd ever dated in my entire, getting treated the best I had ever been treated in my entire life, you know, the whole year leading up to meeting my husband. It really is gross because I see my friends who, you know, maybe they had a child when they were younger or something like that, and then they're all married. All of them are married, and
Wait, let me. So, many of your friends, if not all of your friends, what are you doing? For what? It's my daughter. What are you
okay.
doing? Okay. Um. So many of your friends are came with children into these new relationships. They are now married. How is this possible? I mean, with all of the narration these days about how this is just so not typical, I really need for you to I need for you to help me understand how many of your friends who came with children are married now successfully. Do all of your friends, are all of their husbands making six figures?
All my friends, all my closest friends who are married, yes. I might have some actually I guess I don't. Hold on. I might have some single friends that I'm kind of like acquaintances with that they might not be making as much, but I know that pretty much everyone that is married is at least around there or more. But what people don't understand is that that's not really that much. Like that is a pretty successful plumber and a teacher.
An electrician,
Like
you know?
it's an electrician and a girl that sells art on Instagram. Like
Right.
this
Or
isn't.
a contractor. I mean,
Yeah, this is the guy that owns like a car dealership, or
Mhm.
it's so these are very typical middle class jobs, and that's about what they pay. I mean, and of course, like there's lower paying jobs, but usually it's stuff like, oh, you know, a teacher or something like that, or it's someone starting up a business or things like that.
Mhm.
But but yeah, my oh gosh, hold on. I just realized I have some really good things here. Really good things.
Oh, do tell.
Okay. So okay, so one just to note about how gross it is that, you know, I look at my friends who you know, maybe they had a kid when they were younger and then ended up getting married later in life, and it's like their husbands love them and their child so much that if someone were to come up, like it almost makes me cry even thinking about it, but if someone were to come up to them and be like, you're raising someone's seed, like it's just it's disgusting, you know, like they love that kid, or it's like people who adopt, or people who, you know, there's people who go to a sperm bank
Right.
and like spending thousands of dollars
Mhm.
to hope to be able to raise someone's seed, and it's like to boil like these beautiful relationships into something just so demeaning. It's just gross.
Right.
It's so loveless. It's so, and people don't understand the concept of self-inflicted responsibility. Like these men go to create businesses in order to put responsibility on themselves. They don't want to go have a bunch of hookups. They want a marriage because they want responsibility inflicted upon themselves. They either have children or are fine dating a woman with children because they view like the more you know, self-inflicted responsibility that I bring into my life that I can, you know, easily manage, you know, that leads to a lot more fulfillment than just
kind of makes them feel like, I don't know, a man. And
yeah,
but you would, if
yeah.
you would let, if you listen to these men tell it, you'd swear that the only women who are creating babies that they're bringing into relationships are Black women. So I'm,
No. Oh
I'm
no, no, no,
going to
no.
feign shock.
Yeah, yeah. But oh gosh, yeah. It's like don't you think that my husband's life would be easier without a wife and 6 kids? Like,
But that's not what he wants. He wants that. Yeah.
like as if people's goal is to just have the easiest, most baggage-free life possible, But I actually have a friend, and this kind of goes back to what to really this very same issue of giving too much in a relationship, and especially having a really off dynamic with the male and female roles. So I had a friend who was just about, or I guess I have a friend, not had, but I have a friend who is just about like the most perfect dream woman. Like, she is smart and funny and feminine and creative and so interesting and so easygoing, so great to talk to, all this other stuff. And she would always end up with the biggest losers, right? Like, she funded her husband through med school just for him to thank her by serial cheating on her.
Oh my God.
And it's like, and then after that, the men that she would date were really bad, and especially after I had my husband meet her, he was like, how on earth does this girl not have a great guy? He was like, she would be like the perfect wife. And I was like, well, when she went on her second date with her husband, she took him shopping and bought him like $500 worth of clothes. And
so she set that dynamic.
Oh, with everybody. Like, so then she would meet a guy and it would be like, oh, here, I'll get you this, and like bring them gifts or buy them like actual kind of big items, and I don't understand that because I've never had that compulsion. But she was like, but she was like, Cassie, she was like, Cassie, it was like a sense of codependency. Like, I felt like I had to do this to make them like me or to deserve being with them. And because I was like, how do you end up with these losers? I don't understand. And then when she told me that, and I told my husband, he was like, oh my goodness. He was like, well, that explains everything. He's like, if I went on a date with a girl and she tried to take me shopping, I would, first of all, I'd be like, are you trying to be my mother? And I would feel completely emasculated. And I would never talk to her again. So it's like the exact kind of guys that she would want, she was scaring off.
Right.
And you know what she was attracting? The exact
the dust mites.
Yes. Yes. She was attracting the exact kind of guys that would be comfortable with a woman buying their stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of man is that? And it's like, and so she took about a year off of dating. And this woman had 3 children and was 36. 3 kids, 36. And she took a year off dating and was like, I have to work on my codependency issues. I have to get a handle on this. I have to be able to just like sit and rest and let a man pay for me. Let a man like, so that I can get the right kind of man. And I don't even know if hold on. So a year. Yeah, I think it was. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so it was 2 years total where she was just completely dating. So it was the year that she was working on herself, and then just a whole year after that, totally single. Okay. Then she met like the coolest guy. Guess what? He was totally single, had no children, and was a pilot.
Wow.
Yeah, and not only that, but like a very specialized kind of pilot that is like he has like a really good job, and they live in like a beautiful mansion on the river.
Oh my God.
And he totally takes care of her and her kids. Doesn't even
Wow.
think about it because I mean, yeah.
Wow.
So
a woman
so
with
it's not even
3
like
children was
yes,
snapped up by a man who can afford to put her in a mansion. I'm so confused. I'm feigning being so confused, Cassie, because there are people here online who are saying this is just imaginary.
right. I mean, the thing is that it actually is kind of like a fairy tale in that she's very happy right now, but it being imaginary, it's just even if everybody wants the same things, let's say that that's true. Not everybody's going after it, you know? So one, like these even the pilots and the this and the that don't have as many people running after them as you think that they do. One. And then two, it's like, you know, and like for example, in his instance, he and I think that his so he was divorced, but he didn't have any children because I think they had like fertility issues or something. And he had always imagined himself being like a father of a lot of children. And he was like, man, you know, I feel like I'm so behind. I feel like even if I met a girl tomorrow, you know, I'm already going to be such an old dad and all this other stuff. But then when he met my friend, he was like, you know what? This almost makes everything seem like it was meant to be. It almost makes it all seem like it makes sense. And you know, I can take on a father figure role in these children's lives and be able to not feel like I'm behind.
Right.
And so for him, it was actually like a plus. So this thing that they just assume that every single guy has the same opinion on and every single guy thinks the same way about, it wasn't even like that. That wasn't any way that things were being processed. So yeah.
I feel like now is a good time to present some faulty information that has been presented on the YouTube and social media space that is fallacious, an error, and an outright lie. In 2021, I will be working to debunk the lies that have proliferated unchecked and unargued. One of them is 72% of Black women are single mothers. That is what you call an inconsistent comparison fallacy. So what you are looking at right now is the National Survey of Family Growth from 2011 to 2015. What you are looking at are the numbers of people who have ever had children according to race. So, as you can see, non-Hispanic Black women are 57.1% of the population who have ever had children. 46.6% of non-Hispanic black men have ever had children. So what does that mean? With an inconsistent comparison, you are using different methods of comparison, leaving a false impression of the whole comparison. For example, if you say that 72% of black women are single mothers, when in truth, it is 72% of black children who are born out of wedlock, you have an inconsistent and fallacious comparison. When the truth is that 46.6% of black men have ever had a child. Therefore, 53% of black men do not contribute to the out of wedlock problem. However, the true numbers of black women show that only 57% of black non-Hispanic women have ever had a child. The difference between black women and black men who have ever had a child is not nearly 60% like what is stated, but only a discrepancy of 10.5%. That also does not factor in that the men of that 46.6% could be having multiple children by multiple people. So by conflating the 72% out of wedlock rate with the total percentage of black women having children is a lie. The actual data is 72% of black children are born out of wedlock, not that 72% of black women in total are single mothers. So if you're going to give the data, then be correct in that data. And if you cannot be correct in your data, then maybe you need to shut up.